It was supposed to be empowering. Two women, two microphones, one global audience, and a promise of honest conversation. But honesty, as it turned out, was the last thing Meghan Markle wanted. When Alex Cooper leaned in with her trademark smirk and a question that cut a little too deep, the temperature in the studio dropped. What followed wasn't an interview. It was a duel dressed up as dialogue. The call. Her daddy's studio looked softer than usual that morning. The neon lights had been dimmed, the set rearranged to fit a more royal aesthetic. Alex Cooper adjusted her mic, crossed one leg over the other, and smiled toward the entrance. "Today," she said to the camera, "we've got someone who knows what it's like to have the whole world talk about her, but today she gets to talk back." The audience watching live online flooded the chat with heart emojis and fire icons. Then the door opened. Meghan Markle walked in. She looked immaculate, every hair in place, wearing a white silk blouse and black blazer jacket. She smiled, that perfect practiced royal adjacent smile, and sat down opposite Alex. "Alex," she began, her tone smooth. "Thank you for having me. I've been wanting to have this kind of real conversation." Alex grinned. "Well, Meghan, that's kind of what we do here. Real conversations. No filters, no fluff. You sure you're ready for that?" Meghan's smile tightened just slightly. "I've handled British tabloids, Alex. I think I'll survive. Call her daddy." The studio laughed. Alex raised her brows. "Okay, then let's get into it." The first few minutes were easy. Motherhood, charity work, mindfulness, California sunshine. Meghan spoke like someone who had practiced each sentence in front of a mirror. Her answers were elegant but hollow, the kind that could fit into a press release or a memoir. But the Alex wasn't one to let fluff slide. She leaned forward, voice lowering slightly. "So you talk a lot about finding your voice, but do you think you ever used your story or your voice to control the narrative about you?" Meghan blinked. The question hit differently. Her smile didn't fade, but her posture changed. Her back straighter, her tone slower. "I think women are always accused of being manipulative when they simply speak their truth," she said. "Maybe that says more about the listener than the speaker." Alex nodded. "Totally fair, but some people think you've monetized your truth. You know, made your pain part of your brand." There was a pause. The faint sound of Meghan's bracelet shifting broke the silence. "I find that an unfair assessment," Meghan replied, her voice crisp. "When a woman uses her experiences to empower others, it's called a brand. When a man does it, it's called leadership." Alex gave a soft, deliberate laugh. "Okay, that's a good line. You've rehearsed that one before." Smirk on her face made Meghan's eyes flicker. "Excuse me. I mean, you're really smooth with these answers," Alex said. "Feels like you've done this dance before." The air changed. The tension wasn't obvious yet, but it was alive, crackling beneath the laughter. Meghan adjusted in her seat. "Well, I think I've had enough interviews to know what works and what doesn't." Alex tilted her head. "Right. But this isn't the viewer opera, Meghan. We actually push back here." The chat lit up again. Some viewers were laughing. Others were already taking sides. Meghan's tone sharpened. "I'm not afraid of pushback, Alex, but maybe ask questions worth answering." Alex froze for a split second, then smiled. "Oh, I will." They both laughed, the kind of laugh that didn't reach the eyes. Somewhere behind the glass, a producer mouthed to the sound engineer, "This is going to blow up." The next question was going to decide whether this interview stayed civil or became viral history. The energy in the Call Her Daddy studio had changed. The laughter that opened the interview was gone, replaced by an invisible tension that hummed between the microphones. Meghan's smile had stiffened into something rehearsed. Alex Cooper, however, looked more alive than ever. She could sense it, the point where charm cracked and truth started to leak through. "Okay," Alex said, leaning forward slightly, voice smooth but sharp. "You've talked a lot about finding freedom, about reclaiming your narrative, but Meghan, do you ever think you've maybe gone too far? That the way you've told your story made people lose sympathy instead of gain it?" Meghan tilted her head, a tiny smile flickering on her lips. "I think people are uncomfortable when a woman stops apologizing for herself. Maybe that's the real problem." Alex chuckled softly. "Maybe. But it's not just that, right? Some fans, even people who supported you, say it feels like you traded privacy for attention." Meghan's tone cooled instantly. "That's such a lazy argument. Sharing your truth isn't the same as performing it. It's fascinating how quickly people confuse vulnerability with vanity." Alex nodded, but her eyes didn't soften. "Sure, but you are performing here. We both are. It's a show, right? So let's be real. You chose the spotlight again. You could have stayed private, disappeared, built your life quietly, but you didn't. Why?" There was a pause, a heavy one. Meghan's lips pressed together. "Because silence never protected anyone," she said. Especially not women like me. Alex smirked faintly. And what kind of woman is that exactly? Meghan blinked, caught off guard. Excuse me, Alex repeated, still smiling. You said women like me. What kind of woman do you mean? Famous, ambitious, married well? The studio went dead quiet. Meghan's expression darkened slightly, though she kept her composure. You're twisting my words. I'm literally quoting you, Alex said, her tone playful but deliberate. Come on, Meghan, you're a pro. You know how this works. Meghan gave a tight laugh. Right, I forget how much expertise you have in royal politics. Oh, I don't, Alex said, still smiling. But I do know how fame works. You either own it or it owns you. And from where I'm sitting, it kind of looks like it owns you. That one hit home. Meghan blinked twice, her jaw setting. You know, Alex, it's easy to throw opinions from behind a microphone. Harder to live under global scrutiny every single day. Alex leaned back. True, but that's kind of the life you chose, right? You didn't exactly walk away from the spotlight. You just rebranded it. Meghan's eyes narrowed. Is that what you think this is? A rebrand? Alex shrugged. You. Tell me. The silence that followed felt dangerous. A silence filled with restraint. Meghan crossed one leg over the other, her diamond bracelet catching the light. When she finally spoke, her tone was low but cutting. I came here because I thought this was a show about women supporting women, not tearing them down. Alex smiled, tilting her head slightly. Oh, it is. But supporting women doesn't mean agreeing with them. Sometimes it means asking why they say one thing and do another. Meghan's nostrils flared. You're mistaking courage for contradiction. No, Alex said, her voice calm but cold now. I'm recognizing a pattern. The two locked eyes across the table, microphones inches from their faces, both pretending to smile for the cameras. Meghan's voice was soft, but her words came like a blade. You know, Alex, I don't think you'd last a day in my shoes. Alex leaned in unflinching. Oh, I wouldn't want to, but I also wouldn't pretend they were comfortable. A stunned laugh came from one of the sound engineers, quickly silenced by a glare from the producer. Meghan exhaled sharply, trying to regain her poise. You really enjoy this, don't you? Provoking people. Alex's tone stayed even. I enjoy honesty. It's rare in rooms like this. Meghan's gaze hardened. Honesty without empathy is just cruelty. Alex smiled faintly. And control disguised as vulnerability is manipulation. The words hit like thunder. For a split second, even Meghan seemed unsure what to say. She blinked, adjusted her blazer, and forced another smile. You really think you figured me out, don't you? Alex shook her head. No, but you're making it very easy for people to trauma. The tension was unbearable now. The camera crew exchanged nervous looks. One whispered, should we cut? But Alex didn't move, and Meghan refused to back down. Finally, Alex looked directly at her guest and said softly, almost kindly, let's take a quick break. When we come back, maybe we can talk about what all this really means, when empowerment turns into performance. Meghan's smile froze in place, her jaw tight. Sure, she said coldly. If that's what you need for your ratings, Alex grinned. Oh, trust me, Meghan, we already got them. As the red recording light turned off, the silence that followed was deafening. Neither woman looked away. The next segment would decide everything, and both of them knew it. The break had ended, but the tension hadn't. The Kerr Daddy studio was quieter now, the kind of quiet that feels dangerous. The lights hummed softly, and both women sat a little straighter, their smiles smaller, their eyes sharper. Alex Cooper was in her zone. She'd handled rappers, athletes, and Hollywood egos before, but this was something different. Meghan Markle wasn't a guest anymore. She was a challenge. When the red recording light blinked back on, Alex's tone was deceptively calm. So, Meghan, she began, before the break we talked about perception. You've said the media distorted your story, that people saw what they wanted to see. But isn't that what happens when you tell the world your life story in interviews, documentaries, and books? Don't you dash? Meghan cut in, her voice low and firm. You mean when a woman dares to speak for herself? You call that oversharing? Alex didn't blink. No, I'm asking whether constantly correcting the narrative becomes part of the performance. The word performance hung between them like smoke. Meghan leaned forward slightly, her eyes glinting under the studio lights. I don't perform, Alex, I live my truth. Maybe that's hard to understand for someone who profits from other people's stories. Alex's lips curved into a half smile. Touché, but I think you profit from yours too, don't you? The temperature dropped. The crew could feel it. The invisible chill of two strong personalities colliding. Meghan's tone sharpened. Oh, do you ask male guests if they profit from their stories or just women you don't like? Alex's laugh was short, almost disbelieving. I like you fine. You're just kind of allergic to accountability. That did it. Meghan's expression hardened instantly. Accountability for what exactly? For surviving relentless bullying? For leaving a system built on control and hypocrisy? Alex's eyes narrowed slightly. No, for pretending you left it behind while still talking about it every chance you get. A stunned silence followed. Even the sound engineer stopped adjusting his levels. Meghan's voice dropped to a whisper. Low, precise, dangerous. You're crossing a line. Alex shrugged. Maybe. But you came here to be real, right? That's what this show is. Real. When unfiltered, Meghan straightened her back, her chin slightly lifted. Being real doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. Alex's voice softened, but her words didn't. And being respected doesn't mean avoiding hard questions. The tension snapped like a string pulled too tight. Meghan exhaled sharply, shaking her head. You know, this was supposed to be a conversation between women. On another ambush disguised as empowerment, Alex crossed her legs, leaning casually back in her chair. Empowerment doesn't mean agreeing with everything you say. Sometimes it's holding up a mirror and letting people see the parts they hide. Meghan laughed bitterly. You think you're holding up a mirror, number? You're holding up a spotlight. You want to expose, not understand. Maybe, Alex said softly, because understanding you keeps getting harder the more you talk. That line landed like a slap. Meghan's breath caught her eyes narrowing. You're unbelievable. You invite me here, pretend to care, and then twist every word I say to make me the villain again. It's pathetic. Alex didn't flinch. No one's twisting anything, Meghan. You're just not used to people pushing back. Meghan leaned in now, voice cutting through the room like glass. You should be careful, Alex. You're pimping with narratives you don't understand. Alex smiled thinly. Maybe, but at least I'm not rewriting mine every 6 months. A sharp inhale came from someone behind the camera. Meghan blinked slowly, visibly struggling to keep her composure. Wow, she said finally, her tone dripping with disbelief. So much for women supporting women. Alex's tone was quiet but final. Support doesn't mean silence. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the lights, the faint tapping of a pen on the producer's desk, every sound felt louder now. Then Meghan stood up slightly in her chair, brushing imaginary lint off her sleeve, regaining that polished, composed demeanor that had carried her through royal appearances and red carpets alike. You know what? She said with a practiced smile. Maybe this wasn't the right platform after all. Some people mistake provocation for journalism. Alex tilted her head and some mistake image management for honesty. Meghan froze. The words landed harder than either of them expected. Are you calling me fake? Alex's tone was steady. I'm saying there's a difference between authenticity and control. And right now, Meghan, you sound like someone trying to manage a headline. Meghan let out a soft, humorless laugh. You'll get your headline, Alex, don't worry. And with that, she uncrossed her legs, sat back down and stared straight into the camera. Let's finish this. The world deserves to see what happens when women tear each other down for sport. Alex turned to her producer who mouthed, keep rolling. Because everyone in that studio knew the final act was still coming and it was going to explode. The red light on the call. Her daddy camera blinked back on and with it the tension hit its peak. The air in the studio felt electric, too charged, too still. Meghan sat poised, arms crossed, her lips tight in that perfect half-smile she'd practiced through years of press interviews. Alex, on the other hand, leaned forward with the kind of calm that comes before a storm. The world outside had no idea what was about to happen. All right, Alex began. Her tone casual, too casual. Let's clear the air. Meghan, you've talked a lot about being misunderstood. So here's your chance. What do you think people get wrong about you? Meghan gave a soft laugh, one that didn't quite sound real. Pretty much everything. They see confidence and call it arrogance. They see boundaries and call it entitlement. Maybe that says more about them than it does about me. Alex nodded slowly. Fair point, but some would say that confidence crosses into defensiveness when every question becomes an attack. Meghan's expression hardened. That's a convenient way to frame it, isn't it? The interviewer gets to hide behind just asking questions while the guest takes on all the hits. Alex's voice stayed calm, only if the guest keeps swinging back. A few people behind the glass exchanged nervous glances. This wasn't an interview anymore. It was verbal sparring, pure and raw. Meghan's voice sharpened. You've made a career out of provoking people, Alex, but there's a fine line between authenticity and cheap entertainment. Alex smiled faintly. You'd know about performance, wouldn't you? It was like lighting a match in a dry forest. Meghan blinked slowly, disbelief flashing in her eyes. Excuse me. Alex didn't back down. You've spent years calling everything you do authentic, but every answer sounds like it was written by a PR team. If this is real, Meghan, why does it feel so rehearsed? A hush fell over the room. Even the hum of the studio lights seemed to stop. Meghan's jaw clenched. You're being disrespectful. Alex shrugged lightly. Maybe, but maybe someone needs to be. You've built an empire on the idea that you're silenced. And yet, here you are on another show speaking louder than anyone else. Wow. Meghan laughed bitterly. So this is what women tearing each other down looks like. I expected more from you, Alex. Alex's eyes softened just a little. No, Meghan. This is what holding each other accountable looks like. The problem is you confuse accountability with attack. Because it is an attack, Meghan snapped. You don't know my life. You don't know what I've survived. You're right, Alex said quietly, but you keep selling it as if you do. The silence that followed was unbearable. Meghan stared at Alex for a long moment, her face pale, her composure fraying around the edges. Finally, she stood up. I don't need to sit here and be disrespected. Alex's tone stayed even. Then don't. But the truth doesn't stop being true just because you walk away. Meghan froze, eyes narrowing. You think this is truth? This is clickbait. You brought me here to make a spectacle. Alex leaned forward slightly. No, Meghan, you made it when the moment you turned a conversation into a performance. Meghan's breath caught. That was the line, the one that broke her restraint. Unbelievable, she muttered. You people are all the same. You want the headline, the sound bite, the meltdown. Congratulations, you got it. She pulled off her microphone, the wire catching briefly on her blazer, and threw it on the chair. The sound echoed through the studio. Show's over, she said coldly and walked out. The camera kept rolling. Alex didn't move for several seconds. Then slowly she exhaled, straightened her notes, and looked directly into the camera. I want to make something clear, she said softly, her tone firm but composed. I didn't bring Meghan here to embarrass her. I brought her here to talk openly, honestly, like we do with every guest, but sometimes when people say they want honesty, what they really want is validation. She paused, the weight of her words filling the room. And that's the hardest part of real conversations. You can't script them. The red light blinked off. Silence. Outside the booth, the producers just sat there stunned. No one said a word for several seconds. Then one of them whispered, "That's going to break the internet." And it did. Within hours, clips of the confrontation flooded social media. Hashtags like Meghan on Call Her Daddy and Alex Cooper. Unfiltered trended worldwide. Some defended Meghan, calling Alex cruel and disrespectful. Others praised Alex for finally saying what no one else dared to. But those who were in the room remembered it differently. Not as a fight between a journalist and a duchess, but as something deeper. Two women trying to own the same truth from opposite sides of a mirror. And only one walked away still believing she had control. If you think this interview went off the rails faster than anyone expected, you're not alone. What did you think? Did Alex push too far, or was Meghan finally confronted with questions she couldn't control? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more real stories, real drama, in the moments that nobody sees.